Adam, it's nice to have you on here, man. Would you introduce yourself for people who may not know who you are?
Yeah, so my name's Adam, aka Puffy, aka Puffy got Buffy. I'll explain why later. I lost over 150 pounds about 10 years ago, and I'm a weight loss coach. I've helped over 100 people lose 50 pounds and keep it off for the rest of their life.
Mm, interesting. We're getting to all that later on, but I want to start from the beginning. What was your childhood like?
Well, it wasn't that traumatic. I was just really fucking fat. I mean, it wasn't ideal. like socially inept, very unhealthy, a lot of doctor's appointments. But like it wasn't like I don't know, I wasn't like physically abused or anything like that traumatic.
Hmm. Okay. So, do you think how you grew up like I don't know, do you have a childhood memory that makes you smile?
Uh it's weird because like where I'm at now to where I was when I was a child, it's so polar opposites. I think most of the childhood memories that I can look back and actually be happy about were like just with my dad, like just like normal shit, like playing
Mm.
baseball. Before I got really fat, it's all that like because there's differences of like my life cycle. Like when I when I got to peak puffy or like super fat, like my whole life basically shut down. But then like when I was little, I my dad would teach me how to skate or like I played baseball with my best friend. But then over time, my life kind of deteriorated, and I didn't really go out or do much. So I don't know.
Mm.
I miss my grandpa. Oh yeah, I like him too. We once went to Costco when I was like 6, and we played go-karting in Costco. And now you're probably wondering how the hell we did go-karting in Costco. Those old people electric buggies.
Oh my god! Don't tell
Yeah,
me you hopped.
we both got one, and we played bumper carts and go-karts in Costco, and we got extra bonus points for whoever ran over someone's foot.
Oh my god, bro! What the fuck? Hey, that's the craziest story I've ever heard. Like from child stories, bro. Fucking hell, that's interesting. uh, you weren't always active as a kid, right? Like, when did you start like getting more and more chubby?
Basically, since the age of I started like the age of 6. Like, I
Mm.
mean, I was a normal kid for the most part for a while, and then uh, it just got really bad because I had an undiagnosed eating disorder for like a decade.
Mm.
Uh, and Yeah, from the age of 6 to 17, I was always fat. But
Mm.
like before then, it was all normal shit.
Hmm. Yeah. Interesting. So, at what age did you like decide to okay, this is enough. I need to change this.
Well, there was a lot of doctors over the years that told me I'm gonna die if I don't change. I'm gonna be unhealthy if I don't change. Da. Um, I was like about 17 and a half where I
Mm.
finally had enough of like, well, like I couldn't see my dick in the mirror. So like that was pretty bad. and I it was not a matter of someone else wanting me to change. It was more so this time it was actually me wanting to change. And I think that was the
Yep.
biggest difference.
Oh. So, why do you think some people like stay there, even if they're like stage 3 obesity, even they're like fucking 300, 400 pounds? Why do you think some people stay there and don't change that at all?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. A lot of it just boils down to psychology. Um, because I think some people need a wake up call. Like
Mm.
I was 16 and my doctor said I'd be dead by 24, which like
Oh
that's great
shit.
for the whole story thing, but that didn't actually get me to change. It wasn't until like a year later where I actually changed, right?
What the
Um,
fuck?
but some people like I don't know, there's like a good analogy where it's like some people need to go to the ICU and look at the people in the hospital beds and realize like those people would switch positions and switch like
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot to do with contentment or complacency or laziness or lack of motivation. Some people like the one thing that I'll never be able to comprehend is if someone's like over 250 pounds, 300, 400 pounds, and they have kids. Like, what are
Oh
you
shit.
doing, bro? Like, what
Mm.
more motivation do you need to change? You have a living creature that you need to
Yeah.
literally like support. Um, but I do understand it being in a position where I was like, I didn't have anyone that really cared about me other than like obviously my parents. I didn't have many friends. I didn't have like a future, right? And I didn't have like a girlfriend or anything to live for the most part. So like if someone's 300 pounds or like 30 years old and all of the same things, then yeah, I can understand it. Their comfort is food, right? Their go-to
Mm,
is, oh, I'm sad, I'm gonna eat. Oh, I'm angry, I'm gonna eat. A lot of it's emotional and
mm,
psychological, and it's really hard to break that fucking cycle once you get into that stage, and then it gets to the point of not knowing what to do, like regarding how to change. And then some people will like try for like a week or two, they won't get results, they'll give up, um, or they just won't start because they don't know what to do or they lack motivation. They like there's so many
mm.
reasons uh, on why someone stays like that. Uh, yeah, it's not necessarily one specific thing.
Interesting. But speaking of how you said like food is comfort, I agree with that so much because like I remember before 15 I always like was binge eating whenever I felt bad, whenever I was sad, angry, like you mentioned. And I think it's because of the like yes, it's a dopamine rush, but it's also like I didn't know it at the time that this is like actually like a problem that I always ate whenever I felt unhappy or something or upset. And I felt like that a lot of times, man, because puberty just hit. I was invisible to girls. I was chubby as hell, and that's what got me into the gym at 15. But I do agree with that. So, what was the first like 3 months of fat loss for you? Because people say that most people quit the gym within the first 3 months, and it's like, did you get the urge to quit within those 3 months?
Most people
First.
quit the gym within the first 10 days, not 3 months. I don't know where you got
Oh.
that study. Like, if someone's going to the gym for 3 months, they're not going to stop. Most people quit after 2 weeks with
Huh.
pretty much anything. Think of literally anything.
Hmm.
It could be learning Spanish. It could be fucking literally any hobby. People quit after like a week or maximum
Hmm.
3 weeks. Once you get past the first threshold is 3 weeks, the second threshold is 3 months, and then from there
Hmm.
you turn a hobby into a habit. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I didn't even go to the gym to start with. The first 3 months, literally, I went from eating McDonald's like 4 times a day to three, and then I lost about 20
Hmm.
pounds. Um, and well, dude, I used to make the joke I was too fat to fit in the door at the gym because I was too like self-conscious, like I was too in my head and like caught. I don't know the word, like anxious, self
Hmm.
doubt, whatever. Like I was too scared to go to the gym.
I know what you
Um,
mean. Yeah.
so yeah, I just basically what I didn't know at the time was I put myself in a caloric deficit. Yay. And I went from eating McDonald's 4 times a day to three. I dropped 20 pounds. That was like the first month, but then I hit a really giant plateau. I wasn't losing any more weight, and I didn't know why. I mean, obviously, know now it's because your body adapts to changes
Hmm.
eventually. And so then I didn't know what the fuck to do. So I confided in my dad, and without me really knowing, my dad
Yeah.
typed in like in-home personal trainer, and then to make a long story short, uh, the coach who ended up coming to my house, we became really really good friends. He's one of my best friends, right? Like still to this day. And then he started training me in my basement for like 6 months, I think 3 or 4 times a week. Um,
Hmm.
at the same time, I also found an eating disorder specialist. Um,
Hmm.
so that those two played a huge pivotal reason on success. But I credit most of it to Nitish. He was my coach, um, for the motivation standpoint, for the knowledge, for the friendship. I really even I needed that social interaction, dude, because I
Hmm.
was sitting in the basement for 16 hours a day playing video games.
I absolutely understand what you mean, man. So, can I ask you this? What was your goal when you were literally at the biggest weight you've ever been in and you wanted to start it? Or when you started, okay, losing weight? And what was your goal, first of all? Did you like try to only lose a certain amount of weight, or did you think that this is a new lifestyle and you were gonna build some muscle, you're gonna get a good physique, or did you what was your vision at the beginning?
I never thought what I look like now was actually attainable or achievable.
Oh.
So if I
Shit.
had a time machine and I went back in time, I would not really believe you unless like I told myself some secret shit that nobody else knew, right? I really didn't think it was possible. Like I used to envision and dream of like my like I have this picture of me fat as fuck flexing my arm.
Mm.
And it's not, there's no bicep there. It's just like flub.
Oh.
So I always wanted to look how I look now. But my original goal was simply to I was a 5XL t-shirt. So I had to import t-shirts
Mm.
from the US because I'm in Canada. And they fit me like a fucking tent now. I could use them as a parachute. But uh, my first goal was to get from a 5XL to a 2XL so I could actually shop in
Mm.
stores in Canada because there's nothing more mortifying or fucking depressing when you have to go and buy clothing and you physically cannot purchase anything. Like
Mm.
there is fucking nothing in the store. You're there for an hour. You try on all this shit. You can't even buckle the belt. That's one of the most horrifying, depressing moments of my life when I had to get a suit for my grandpa's funeral, and I was so fucking fat I
Mm.
couldn't fit into like anything. I remember I had to go to like there's a specific special store designed for fat asses called George Richards. It's a big and tall store. Now I understand if you're 6'6", right? People ain't fucking 6'6", so like they're all obviously they got to go and get like certain lengths and all this shit.
Yep.
But it's also made for fat people because there's nowhere else to go, right?
Mm.
Um, so that was my first goal. And then after I got and reached that goal, um, my coach really pushed me to like set a higher standard, set a higher goal, and chase for quote unquote greatness. So then it turned into like, okay, let's lose as much weight as I fucking can. So the largest weight I ever the largest number I ever saw on a scale was about 375, and the lowest number I
Oh
ever saw on a
shit.
scale was about 192. Um,
Wow.
and so I say 150 pounds because my weight's up and down, it fluctuates. So
Mm.
it doesn't really fluctuate anymore. It did for a bit. So I got down to the 192 and I had like almost no muscle. Um, and so then we did a reverse diet and started putting on muscle. I kind of cheated a bit on like the meal plan because like I just got complacent. Um, I wanted to kind of try shit out on my own. And then I ballooned to kind of like 220, but I wasn't fat.
Mm.
And then I kind of just stayed at 220 for a while, up and down, like 215, 225 was in that range for like 4 or 5 years. And then about last year, I went to get skin. I used to have a bunch of dead skin because like, well, when you blow a balloon up and it gets
Mm.
really large and you pop it, it's just left with like dead hanging thing, right? And
That's a
I
good
don't give
analogy.
I don't give a shit who tells you what fucking shit you hear on the internet. You literally cannot exercise or diet away the skin. The more I did, the looser and worse it got. So it got to the point where like that's
Mm.
why I stayed between 215 and 225. I didn't bother dieting because every time I did, I'd actually hate how I looked. Um, so I got the skin removal surgery last year. They cut off 12 pounds of dead skin. And
Holy
now
shit.
I am just chilling at about 205. Um, I'm pretty lean. I'm happy with how I look. Um, yeah, I mean, like I'm pretty jacked. Like I have a pretty good physique. The only annoyance is
Yeah.
like I won't really be able to get like a shredded six pack. And that's just simply based off of like the insertions of what happened with my skin. It literally, like you can
Mm.
see with the picture behind me, I was fat as
Yeah.
fuck.
That's
So
fucking
I
hell.
had skin removal surgery. I have scars to prove it, but like I can't get shredded abs. But like in the right lighting, I have about a 2-pack or a 4-pack. So I'm
Mm.
happy with that. Like I don't have unrealistic expectations or outcomes. Like
Yep.
with the cards that I was dealt, I turned it into like something pretty solid.
If I'm being honest, I think like having loose skin is actually like how should I say it? It's actually when I see that on somebody, it's like fucking hell. He had it even harder than
Yeah.
it looks. Like when somebody sees someone with loose skin, that's like a status symbol because that's something that the majority of fat people actually don't want to do. And that's like you didn't just go from skinny fat or just skinny to muscular or fat. Must have been from really obese, and that's like I feel like that's something to be respected.
Yeah.
So what were your some of your thresholds along the way? So I mean, like pretty sure you wanted to quit more than once, or like some thresholds where it was like that thought of quitting was like really seeping in. When did you have to go through that?
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like my brain is black and white. I don't really have much gray. So once I put my mind to something, I do it. So I never really thought of quitting.
Oh
A lot
shit.
a lot of people do because they're mentally weak, just to put it bluntly. The
Hmm.
slightest sign of trouble, okay, I'm gonna just give up and quit, right? But then, are they
Mm-hmm.
successful in life? No, right? So, I mean, I feel like knowing everything I know now, there's a huge correlation to people that are successful and like take care of their body versus people that are not successful and don't take care of their body. Because chances are, like, a lot of people that I know that are like top G's or entrepreneurs or like friends of mine that are like really like 6 figures, 7 figures, they are all in really good shape, right? But I'm kind of going on a segue to that. Yeah, I never quit. I never quit. Were there like times where the scale didn't move? Yeah,
Mm.
but like, where was I bummed out about it? Yeah, but I don't think there was really ever a time I was thinking of quitting or giving up. There were times of
Hmm.
me quitting or giving up on life, but not necessarily my weight loss goals. That was just because I was depressed and had no goals and had no social life and had nothing to really live for. But thankfully, like the weight loss kind of gave me something to strive towards and try to and continue to get better at. And like the gym in a way, or the weight loss journey in a way, not in a way, it saved my life from a health standpoint, sure, but also saved my life from a mental standpoint, because I got addicted to like chasing, lit weights and getting better and progressive overload.
So you mentioned that you were eating like McDonald's multiple times a day.
Yeah.
How like what did you replace that junk food with? Like what food did you eat in the beginning?
Well, my story's like kind of unique to most people. So like, I mean, so
Hmm.
a lot of people that get overweight, they just eat too much or they're lazy. I mean,
Mm.
there's obviously certain nuances, but when we boil everything down, they eat too much and they don't move. With me, I was the same way. I ate too much and I didn't move, but I also only ate 5 foods. So I had an eating disorder. It's called ARFID. I forget what it stands for. It's an acronym, but basically, any new foods that I would try, I would throw up or gag. Even the thought of
Mm.
like food entering my brain would make me want to gag. So I basically only ate the Happy Meal menu, which sounds funny, but I'm dead serious. Like it was like it was chicken nuggets or chicken fingers, French fries, grilled cheese, and pizza and hot dogs.
Interesting.
That's it for like fucking 12 years.
What
Now
the
there was
fuck?
different variations, right? But like it was my eating disorder got so severe to the point where it's like the frozen chicken fingers in the grocery stores were not like they would make me gag because they were not the same as like McDonald's or Wendy's, right? So
Huh.
yeah, I was starting off like that's basically my starting point, and then I found this eating disorder specialist, where after literally 11 years of me dealing with this shit and me going to other dietitians and nutritionists and them telling me a bunch of bullshit, um, me like just eat chicken, rice, and broccoli. Oh, eat the fucking rainbow. Yeah, great. I'd eat the fucking rainbow if it was Skittles, but like if it's fucking vegetables and shit, I don't want to enter that into my body. So and it wasn't like, oh, I don't want to eat it. Like it was literally like I would throw up if I ate broccoli. Like
Mm.
I'm just not gonna. I'm not even gonna entertain the idea of doing it because I don't want to throw up. So, um, yeah. See, basically, we had to like deconstruct food. So like we went from basically like a chicken finger at McDonald's to like making it at home. But like I literally bought a deep fryer at home,
Mm.
right? And then I would go to the extent of like getting the sauce packets from McDonald's and then taking the nuggets that I made at home, and so I could replicate it. And then from there, we went from like deep fryer to air fryer to air fryer to
Mm.
oven to then like fucking pan fry to then grilled to then eventually it got to the point where I could eat an actual
Mm.
chicken breast without fucking like hating my life.
Huh. Yo, that's interesting process.
Yeah, so we had to do that with a lot of different foods to the point where I'm at now, to where it broke the threshold of like the initial inertia of gagging. There are certain things I won't touch with a 50-foot stick. I'm not eating Indian
Mm.
food if my life depended on it. Just fucking shoot me on the spot. Uh, I'm not eating most vegetables. Shoot me on the spot. It's also still like, if my girlfriend wants to go to Indian food, I'm like, lady, like, you can go, be my guest. But I am not, like, we actually had this conversation yesterday where she was like asking me about this. And I'm like, look, I literally don't want to put myself in a situation or environment like that. Even if you brought the Indian food to my house, I don't want to show you like that side of me where I'm literally just fucking gagging this food. You're going to be like, what's wrong with this guy? Right. So where
Mm.
I'm at now to where I was at previously is a fucking miracle. Like I can go to most restaurants in the world and eat something. Um, I have a wide variety of protein bases that I can eat. Um, I have most carbs that I can eat. I'm just I like most fruit now. I don't like vegetables. I'm okay with that.
Mm.
Yes, it's more optimal for fucking health, but like kiss my ass. And uh yeah, that's like the long and the short with that.
Mm. So what was like the first moment where you could have done an activity that you could not do at that weight? Like I don't know, like I
Well,
don't
there's
even
everything,
know.
dog. Like, okay, one of the another really sad thing that I look back on, which I'm eventually gonna change and redo it. So I'm a huge Steelers fan. If you don't know, that's like an NFL team. I have them literally
Mm.
tattooed on my leg. And so for my, I think it was my 17th birthday. So this was like peak Puffy. My
Mm.
dad took me to the 50-yard line to see the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, it was something on my bucket list, something I wanted to do for like a decade at that point.
Mm.
I needed the seatbelt extender on the plane. That was part one.
Oh.
Two, so that was fun. That was, I mean, that wasn't like, I was actually kind of expecting that. I'm not gonna lie. But in part two, because I think my fucking waist was like 55 or almost 60 inches, dude. Part two was we spent like $500 on these literally like 50-yard line seats. And my fat ass could not fit in the seat. My fat literally hanging over like a muffin top. If you know what a cupcake or a muffin looks like,
Yeah.
pretend
Yeah.
like literally,
hell.
thank God it was raining and nobody was sitting next to me. Like my fat was literally
Oh.
hanging over the seats. So it was fucking humiliating. It was, and like it was not even humiliating because people weren't looking and staring at me. Like, granted, we're in the U.S. There's a lot of fucking fat people. It was humiliating to myself, right?
Mm.
I know it was like the same time when I went to like get clothes with my dad to like for the thing that I couldn't fit into. It was like humiliating for him because I know one of the most depressing things about the whole situation is my dad beat himself up a lot. Where he was like, "How did I let my kid get this big? How did like he blamed himself?" And it's fucking everybody involved. It's fault. It's my mom's fault. It's my dad's fault. It's also my fault. It's not all on them, but like they take a lot of
Mm.
understandably they take a lot of the responsibility and shit. But like when you get to the point of someone having an eating disorder or if someone's addicted to crack, you can't just blame yourself. Like sure, if you're the one who gave them the crack originally, yes, you have some role in it, but like it's still that other person. Like it's my responsibility to choose to change or not, right? Um,
Mm.
so yeah, the seatbelt in the airplane or the roller coaster, the seats no longer an issue, like the clothes no longer an issue. There's so many examples, like walking up the stairs and being winded,
Mm.
like fucking gasping for air, not an issue. Like I don't know, walking the fucking dog and not like vomiting from like cardiac arrest, not an issue.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, that must be like a big like different feeling. Yeah. Why do you think some people that are trying to lose weight they don't see any results and they've been doing it for like I don't know 4 months, let's say 3 months?
what the fuck they're doing because they don't know what the
Oh.
fuck they're doing. That's the easiest way to summarize it. A lot of
Mm.
people nowadays, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it on my own. I don't need any help." Well, fuckhead, if you were struggling with weight loss for more than a year, most people that struggle with weight loss, it's a decade, it's 2 decades, it's 3 decades, it's 4 fucking decades. You're 50, 60 years old and you're fat as fuck. And you're telling me you're lying to yourself. You're lying to me, telling me that you're gonna do it on your own. If you were gonna do it on your own, you wouldn't be fucking struggling for the last 30 or 40 fucking years. You're in denial because you refuse to accept help,
Yeah.
right? So some people do take the initiative and try to do shit on their own, but then they end up fucking failing because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And then they go over, they're running around like a chicken with their fucking head cut off, looking at this fucking dipshit and this fucking dipshit, all this bullshit information on the internet. And then what
Oh.
happens? They don't know who the fuck to listen to because everybody's
Yeah.
contradicting each other. Then they're going on TikTok and seeing this fucking steroid roided out dumbass doing fucking backflips on a cable machine, and this fucking 400-pound motherfucker thinks he needs to do the same stupid shit.
Yeah, man, fucking hell. That's actually a really interesting explanation, but yeah, that does make sense if I'm being honest. Speaking about roids, did you ever think about taking you?
So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for me. Because of
Mm.
my stupid teenage, bro, I was basically 18 by the time I started losing weight. Now, because of that, my testosterone for a normal male is very fucking low. So there's certain like, yay, I lost weight, but like also not great. Like my free test level is like 220. A normal test level for someone my age with my health should be like at minimum 600. Like if I was in like Texas or Florida where their rules are more relaxed, I would be on TRT already. But have I ever thought of taking Tren, Anavar, Winstrol, like any drugs to help me lose fat? Absolutely fucking not. Those are so stupid. Have I thought of taking like GH or Trent, like anything to help build muscle? Also, absolutely not. I look at steroids as a necessity for certain men to improve their fucked up genetic makeup or DNA, right? So for me, I've done blood work and I qualify for TRT. I'm not doing it yet because of my age. It's not a matter of if, it's simply a matter of when. But to me, that's not taking steroids. That's me literally giving myself like the normal function, like fucking male ability, right? But in terms of like, have I ever thought of taking steroids for any other reason? No. Do I think they're very stupid for majority of the population? Yes. And like, I like bodybuilding. I am not a bodybuilder. I follow a similar approach, right? I follow like a routine and schedule and all this shit. I have massive respect for everybody that does that, but they're damaging their health. And I fucking find like, so like the statistic, I watched a video on the BBC and the teenagers in the UK, the amount of fucking people that are taking steroids, not even just at a young age, but like it's just insurmountable because of social media. And it's sad reality. Honestly, you need to have some fucking unrealistic expectation physique and say to people that you're natural, even though you're not and you're taking steroids, to get some type of attention, to get some type of sponsorship, to become an influencer or the fucking Gymshark bullshit, right? So I haven't thought of it because I don't give a fuck. But like I know teenagers, especially or young adolescents, are very easily influenced by seeing like one of the biggest people that I hate right now, the Tren twins. I appreciate that they're transparent about it. It's literally their fucking name. But you're 22 years old, taking an insurmountable amount of steroids, and then you have an audience of 16, 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old men who think that they need to do it as well, right?
To be fair on them, I I do believe that they have spoken about that they don't recommend for other people their age to take it.
I've never seen them saying to not take it. And even if they say that, their fucking username is literally a steroid. So fundamentally, they're influencing people to realize, oh, if you want to get this clout, this is what you need to do, right? Now, they are bodybuilders. That's why they started doing it, right? So that sport is fucking dangerous and stupid. You can do it healthy. Like, there are ways you could take steroids and not fucking kill your health overall. But most times than not, people don't hire a coach when they're taking steroids. They just basically play Russian roulette.
Yeah, man.
They're just doing guessing games, and like they're taking enough gear to fucking like tranquilize a horse.
That's crazy. So, speaking of bodybuilding, I wonder why did you compete in like any, or did you think about competing in those transformation?
Yeah, so some people have asked me. I thought about it a while ago. I think about it sometimes here and there, especially now that I got like the skin removal surgery. I always said like if I'm gonna do it, I want to bring like my best package, and I want to fucking win. But there's more cons than pros. There's a lot of cost involved. There's a lot of preparation involved, and fundamentally, if I'm going to basically cut myself down to the bone of calories, of energy, it's going to impact my business. It's going to impact my clients. My coach, Nitish, or my former coach, Nitish, he recently did a show. And for basically 2 weeks, he just isolated himself. He did not have any clients because he didn't fucking have the energy to do it. Right. I don't want to do that. I don't think it's beneficial enough to do that.
No, okay.
What do I gain out of it? Ultimately, what do I gain? Like I have like one of the best before and after pictures you'll see in the world.
Yeah.
I don't need to show that on stage. I don't need to look like an indigenous person and get a fucking fake spray tan, right? I don't need the validation, right?
Like, if I'm being honest, bro, even looking at that picture in the back, like I cannot believe that's you, bro. What the fuck? And that's absolutely crazy. So, like, how we spoken about nutrition, but like, how does sleep affect weight loss?
Sleep affects weight loss in almost every aspect. I find a lot of people that are overweight also have terrible sleep patterns. The biggest reason why is because when you're overweight, you typically tend to like choke yourself or choke when you're sleeping. And that's a big reason why a lot of overweight individuals, they need like a CPAP machine. So it allows them to get more oxygen, allows them to breathe properly. So if you're heavy, it's a lot of weight on your chest, especially because you're lying in a supine position. You basically are fucked. You can't breathe properly. So that's part one. And then because of like what you're eating, it affects your ability to go into deeper sleep, right? Like if you're eating a lot of shit, it's not good for your body. It also might fuck up your melatonin production. But I guess more than less, the number one reason why a lot of overweight people have issues with sleep is because they're heavy and it affects their oxygen capacity. But how, like, if you don't have proper sleep, you're not going to be able to get anything done. You're not going to be able to recover from like a workout. You're not going to be able to reset your metabolism, to reset your testosterone. Like it's literally like when you're sleeping, it's a factory reset on your body, right? So like, I mean, I could ramble about so many benefits of sleep, but like fundamentally, it just fucks everything up if you don't get enough sleep, regardless if you're fat or not.
So, like, how do you also is it possible to have like high testosterone whilst like being overweight and trying to cut down?
Absolutely not. Perfect example of me is me. So when I was 17 and a half, I talked to my doctor about it. I was like, yo, doc, why is my dick so small? And then I'm like dead serious. And he's basically like, well, you're fat. And because you're fat and you consume a lot of fatty foods, which the entire Happy Meal menu at McDonald's is literally just fat. There's barely any fucking protein. When you're a male, you then tend to develop more estrogen than testosterone. So when a lot of fat guys are fat, they will develop not even gyno, like gyno's different. They will develop tits, like literal tits. I could have worn a C cup bra when at my biggest. Like in that picture behind me, I have literally fucking tits. Now it's hard to tell because my stomach is bigger than my tits, right? But a lot of fat guys will have tits because they have estrogen. And so when you have more estrogen or you just develop more estrogen, your testosterone is obviously going to be lower.
That's interesting. I mean, I kind of expected that, but fucking hell. So how do you increase your testosterone level once like you like start losing the weight, and at what point? Because yes, you might not be stage 3 obesity anymore, but there has to be some point where you can break some thresholds of the test levels.
Well, it depends on the individual. It also depends on their genetic makeup. Like obviously, certain people of certain backgrounds will just have a higher likelihood of having a higher testosterone. Like especially like African American males are just going to have more testosterone than like some white guys. Some white guys, depending on their background, like especially Europeans, they're going to obviously have more testosterone than like regular guys. It depends if you're like, I'm dead serious. It depends on your genetic makeup. But fundamentally, once you lose the weight, that's the number one way to improve testosterone. Number two would be improving your sleep. Number three would then not eat like shit. So like whole food sources, because like if you eat a lot of trans fat from fast food, that's going to make you feel like shit. That's going to develop estrogen. And then four would be work. So and four would be working out. Now you don't want to work out like a maniac. There's a fine line. Like some people will tell you to like, oh yeah, lift heavy all the fucking time. No, if you lift heavy all the time and like properly, like a RPE of 10, you're going to fucking damage your CNS and then not actually grow as much testosterone as you would like. You want to build muscle that will then help with testosterone, to build more testosterone. But there's like a fine line of that. And then lastly would be supplementation. Now, not supplementation in the form of fucking steroids, but a lot of people are fucking deficient in vitamin D, right? So take vitamin D, take zinc, take magnesium. Those would be like the top three, maybe some ashwagandha. But that also helps with like stress, anxiety. And there are some properties that are linked to boosting your test. There are some other natural test boosting supplements, but like save that for the last. Like literally, so many people like jump. It's the same thing with like fat people in Ozempic. Fucking go for a walk and eat less. Don't take a needle in your fucking ass. So if you're trying to build testosterone or improve your testosterone, do everything possible. And then last case resort, go to a supplement because it literally says it in the word. It is supplementary. It is not their first thing you should go to.
That's interesting. So what do you think about the carnivore diet and the vegan diet? What do you think like is if you have to choose one, what do you think is actually better?
Carnivore by a fucking landslide. It's not even close. So vegan, I don't want to say it's stupid because there's some certain people do it for ethical reasons, which I can respect and appreciate. Although fundamentally, both diets have their flaws because they're both missing out on either micronutrients or fiber or just there's a lot of fucking out of shape vegans or their blood work is shit. Like I would say carnivore for me personally, just because I like protein. I could never do vegan. I think veganism is just a giant extreme, and it's it's like, to me, it's like, I don't know, social media didn't exist. I think the amount of vegans and trans people that would be out there in the world would be like less than 1%. But that's a whole story and that's a political debate on another fucking podcast. The carnivore, I feel like that's very similar to what I eat on a daily basis, except I have some carbohydrates and I have fiber. That is the only issue I have with the carnivore diet. It works really well because majority of the population barely eat any fucking protein, right? So if they just did the carnivore diet, but also threw in some fucking berries and some fiber, and then God forbid some carbohydrates for your pre-workout and post-workout nutrition, that's fine. But then that's what I just described is called a fucking balanced meal plan. But
Yeah.
human psychology just jumps to the extremes of the extremes. Like there's no balance, right? If my dog is fat, am I going to fucking put him on Ozempic or put him on the carnivore diet? No. I'm going to just walk him more and eat him and feed him a little bit less. You know what I mean? But like humans don't apply that same logic to themselves.
You know, I always heard this, and I kind of agree with that. Eggs, like literally, eggs and steaks are like kind of like the most optimal foods if you think about, especially eggs. Like the cholesterol from the eggs, it produces testosterone, first of all, and second of all, it's a good source of protein with plenty of vitamins in the yolk. And I believe that how many people don't eat eggs is like crazy to me. Like even 4 eggs a day, and like even if you could do that, like there's absolutely no downside to that in my
There
opinion.
were people, there was a couple, I forget the channel name. I would shout them out if I could remember, but there was one guy in particular. He ate like, I think it was 10 or 12 eggs a day for 30 days, and he did blood work before and after. There's absolutely no difference. I don't know where the myth started, where a lot of eggs like increase your cholesterol, right? But there's a chance that like when that myth started, the guy was fat or the guy was eating other shit that led to his increase of cholesterol, right? Eggs are great, steak is great. People that say it's not are fucking retarded or they're vegan.
What's one lesson that I want to say the gym has taught you, but general like fitness has taught you? What has how has it changed you like mentally now? How does it affect you?
How has the gym changed my life?
Yeah.
I don't know if it has. I mean, like it's helped me build muscle. Like okay. The one thing that I can actually say the gym helped me with was like get off antidepressants. So I find a huge correlation between people that are on antidepressants and people that are overweight. They have no structure, life, or goal or something to look forward to. And this was literally me 10 years ago. So all I was doing is playing video games 16 hours a day. And because of the dopamine it gave me, I got the instant hit. Oh, woohoo, I killed a guy in Call of Duty. Yippee fuck, right? But like other than that, there was nothing. So then when I got something that gave me it was like a fucking video game. Every time I went to the gym, I got one more rep. I got a little bit more weight. It not only like let me look forward to something, it also got me like to improve and get better and have a stress reliever and have something to release my anger on and have something to improve my mood because it released dopamine and serotonin, which is the happy hormone. And then I literally got off antidepressants because of the gym. So I would say that was probably the biggest thing.
Interesting. So I want to ask something about obviously the discipline or pushing through when it's hard, but how do you build it? Like some people like obviously like I believe it's a skill. I don't believe that it's a born in character trait. I don't believe that. No. How do you build that skill over time? You know, because it extrapolates into other areas of life, not just fitness. If somebody gives up on themselves, they will give up in business, they will give up in relationships. So how do you build that skill in what habits?
So it's my brain and mindset. It's unique to most people because it's black and white. There's no real gray. So that's both positive and negative. But for most people, and what I tell a lot of clients, is just 1% better every day. And that consistency is better than failure. Because a lot of people, again, to the human psychology standpoint, for whatever fucking reason, they want to go from 0 to 60, or they want to go from 0 to 100. Oh, okay, I'm fat, I'm out of shape, I don't work out. So let me fucking completely 180 everything, And now I'm going to go to the gym 7 times a week. I'm going to start a diet tomorrow. I'm going to walk fucking 5 kilometers a day. They will burn out in like a week maximum. And then they're not going to be motivated to take any action to change for another year, because to them, that's them trying, and then they fail because they overwhelm themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so you can say the same thing with business. If you're starting a business, you're not going to go and get a fucking LLC and a warehouse and fucking merch and all this shit tomorrow, right? I mean, unless you're like Bill Gates' son, then sure, you could go and blow the money, but even he's going to be overwhelmed, right? So consistency is better than failure. You have to start with like the bare minimum, whatever the fuck that bare minimum is for you. If you're overweight and you're averaging 1,000 steps a day, start with 2,000, then go to 4,000, and then you build and build and build, because then you eventually get to the point where you're consistently doing 6,000 or 8,000 steps a day, maybe 10,000, depends on the person, how much time you have, whatever, and then that's a habit. And then you go into the meal plan, you go into the diet. You start with just eating less fucking shit. You start from going from eating fast food 5 times a week to 4 times to 3 times to 2 to 1 to none. Then you eat better food. You eat whole food sources. Now you have that sorted. Then you can start figuring out how to track your macros. And then you can fucking figure out and go on a meal plan or a diet customized to you, blah, 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 blah. And then the workout. If you don't work out, and then you go work out 7 times a week, you're going to fucking not like it. Because then you're also going to be, I'm so fucking sore. I don't want to do it, blah, 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 blah. Once a week. And then twice, right?
So, like you said, I was going on. I was trying to improve my push-ups. You know, like the amount of push-ups I can do in one row, because I was going to the gym for like a year and a half at this point. That was like at the beginning of this year, and yes, I could bench like 190 or 200 pounds from kilos. I think that's about it. But I could not do 20 push-ups in a row. And I was like, fucking hell, okay. This is kind of pathetic. Like, I have a pretty good physique. I'm not weak, but I cannot move my own body weight like 20 times. So the way I started to do that was, I basically started off with 10 push-ups as I could, or nah, I believe I could do like 12 push-ups in a row, which is crazy because I wasn't like really, really fat, but I was weighing like 200 pounds. So, or 190, something like that. So also, but with that time, I also cut down to 165, like 25 pounds. But also, I started doing. First of all, I started doing 100 push-ups a day in like 8 sets, let's say, and then doing 20, then doing 22. Then I always saw like I can push one more in somehow, and it doesn't even take that long. This process in particular, but it's also about if I started off with I want to do 500 push-ups, you know, in a day. I cannot do that because by the 5th set, I would just get so sore, or just somehow by the 100 or 150 push-up, I would just quit. So I started like with the goal, okay, 100 push-ups in this many sets, and I did that, and I increased or I decreased the amount of sets, so I do more reps in a set. So yes, adding like progressive overload, this is what like most people overlook, and they're trying to put too much on their plate at once. So did you have anybody that inspired you?
Um, Not really. Uh,
Hmm.
I think the biggest person or motivator that motivated me like a while ago was Andy Frisella. Um, but not. It's such a giant difference to where and what he's doing now to like when I listened to him back in like 2016, 17, 18. He didn't have like a podcast studio. I mean, First Form was still very popular, but I just resonated with the story and like the
Hmm.
shut the fuck up and do the work type of mentality.
Yeah.
Like I never really did the 75 hard challenge, mainly because I thought it was just too extreme. But I do understand why it is that. It is to develop mental discipline. It's to prove to
Hmm.
yourself that you can do it. I could have done it, but it's like to stick to a diet for 75 days. It's just it
Yeah.
goes against my principles, which is just like do something that's like flexible to your lifestyle. I'm not going to sacrifice and jeopardize like social outings with friends or bring fucking chicken breast with friends. You know what I mean? Um, Other than him, um, not much, man.
Hmm.
I really wish there was like, oh, check this guy out, watch this guy. No, like it. I feel like people that need to use other people to motivate them will ultimately just fucking fail. Like you
Mm,
have to be your own motivation. You have to look in the mirror and say,
yes.
okay, I'm not happy. So fucking change it. Listening to Tony Robbins or fucking David Goggins going for a run and telling you who's going to carry
Mm,
the boat. That's only like initial inertia. That's only going to get you off the couch to go for a walk. But is that going to get you to go off the couch and go for a walk every single day? Probably not, because you're
no.
going to get sick and listening to that every single day. It's
Yeah.
going to get monotonous. It's going to get repetitive.
Because everybody like gets hyped in the moment, gets motivated
Yeah.
right now, but then that wears off. Even if they rewatch the same video, that just wears off.
It's
So
not the
it has to
it's
be.
not the it's not the same impact when you rewatch it, right? And I mean, like David Goggins, Tony Robbins, Tim Grover, all those guys, they're great, but like um fundamentally the motivation has to come within. You could use them as motivators, but you have to be your own greatest motivator or have someone else to be your greatest motivator like a coach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the best thing about a coach, in my opinion, the hands down most valuable thing, and even business coaching for me was the accountability. When somebody keeps you accountable and they shame you or like they just like yell at you if you don't do it, that worked for me so well.
Well,
In
you pay attention. And so
yes,
I
yes,
feel like we have similar mindsets to where it's like when my business coach tells me I did a great job, I feel like a puppy who just received a cookie. And when he tells me that I did a shit job, I actually get really sad. But it's
yeah,
because I value his opinion and I know
yeah,
I could do better. Right. Now, it's a bit different in terms of, I guess, my niche with weight loss.
mm,
Um, because a lot of clients, like, they just struggle to fucking do anything, right?
mm,
Um, but yeah, the biggest thing would be accountability and motivation. And a lot of people need that. But then they also, a lot of them, especially when it comes to weight loss and people being overweight, they need the knowledge aspect.
mm,
And I think you
yeah,
could say the same thing. It depends on the business coach, but like a lot of it, it's all wrapped in one. The knowledge
mhm,
and the accountability slash motivation, those are the two biggest things for really working with any coach. And people that shit on coaches, they don't like, bro, like I don't understand that. Like if someone's going to help you get from point A to point B and they have 10 years of experience and knowledge and they can give you that and you're paying
yeah,
for that, it's worth every fucking penny.
yeah. I also I also like having coach even when I know like what even though I have a couple of years experience, I still like someone to keep me not a coach but a nutritionist, and I send him every food I eat, and like that's just even if you know the knowledge, the accountability is just so underrated because how many times you will quit on yourself, but or not quit, but you will just cheat, let's say, but you won't do that when you know that somebody else will see it. And it's that shame that makes you on point, in my opinion. I want to get into some rapid fire questions before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Is happiness the purpose of life?
Yeah.
Is and there any correlation between health and wealth, as people say?
Like business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of alluded it to earlier. If people are out of shape, their
Mm.
chances are they're not really successful with their business. There are outliers, but yeah.
So, what are the three supplements you would take if you only could take three?
Protein powder. Well, not me personally. I wouldn't take protein powder, but for the Gen
Mm.
Pop protein powder, um, vitamin D, mm, mm, a really good multivitamin.
Mm. What's the biggest lie you've ever heard?
Biggest lie. Fuck. Um,
There are many of them. Huh?
too many. Hold on. That's a deep question. The biggest lie. Well, I don't know if it was a lie, but my teachers or a lot of people in authority when I was younger thought that I would never be successful, or they
Mm.
always like, oh, you're not gonna make it, or whatever that shit. So technically, that's a lie because they can go fuck themselves. Um, I don't know. There's too many.
Mm. What are the best advice you've been given?
Can't really nitpick one. There's just a lot of times where I've always had different mentors or coaches over the years, whether that's fitness or business, and they've all taught me and shared with me different things. I like I like one. but it's more for business than fitness. I think I took a screenshot of it. I'm gonna try to find it without
Hmm.
making so much dead air. Yeah, I got it. No, this is not it yet. Uh, I don't know where it is.
No worries.
It was something like basically. Oh, there we go. I found it.
Oh
Business
shit.
is war. In war, we have thousands of battles. Many are lost and many are won, but the only way to lose the war is to give up.
Yeah. Fucking hell. That's actually very true. Like, um, I will say this: an L doesn't stand for loss, but for lesson, because the ultimate loss is when you just don't give up. Because then you literally put your chances of winning to zero. If you
You
try
got to
again, you have a chance, but if you put it to zero by not doing it anymore, whatever that may be,
Yeah, you got
yeah,
to learn to eat shit sandwiches. And so a lot of
yeah.
people's businesses give up and stop because they literally just give up and they falter, right? If you don't give up, you're going to outwit the competition for the
Mm.
most.
So, what's the worst advice somebody has given you?
There's a lot. That's also there's a lot. There's also like a bunch of coaches that I got fucked over. Just they don't know what they're talking about.
Mm.
I can't nitpick one because it's like I don't really like I don't know like that's not in the front of my brain that I want like it's not something that I think of often. You know what I mean? It's, if it's the worst advice I've ever received, chances are I'm not gonna be able to like really remember that. I just probably in the
Mm.
moment, like, yo, that's really stupid.
Okay. What's your favorite quote?
Well, there's a lot, but I mean, I'm somewhat of a narcissist, so I like the one that I came up with, which is 1% better every day, and consistency is better than failure. And then
Mm.
the other one, I have a podcast called the Start Yesterday podcast. So like, the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is today.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one, man. Okay, if you could give any advice to your 17-year-old self, what would it be?
Start earlier, but that's not really possible. I mean,
Mm.
genuinely, like the answer to the question is there is really no advice that I would have changed because of where I'm at now. The only thing I would have changed would have been to start younger, like
Mm.
maybe at 11 or 12. But do I live with regrets? No. The only regret that I live with is not losing the weight at a younger age. So then my grandpa could have saw me
Mm.
not be fat because my whole life, like
Oh.
my grandpa was my best friend. So my whole life, he always knew me as the fat kid and like always wanted me to lose weight. He would even tell me like, "Oh, I'll give you $100 for every pound you lost." Like
Fucking hell.
incentivize me. So that's the only regret, honestly, at this point in my life so far, which is okay because it's good. Like I don't like to live with regret. I don't really regret many of the things I do. I regret a
Yeah.
lot of the things that I do not. I don't like,
Yeah.
you know, months later, oh fuck, I should have done that. Like fuck you, not you, but like people with that type of mindset, bro. Like oh my god, you're never gonna get anywhere, right? Like take
Yeah.
the leap of faith, take the leap of action, but like you're holding yourself back when you're like, oh, I can't afford it. I gotta think about it. Like shut up.
Mm. Okay, what's next for Puffy? Actually, how did you come up with that name? I,
So Puffy
I,
got Buffy. So when I was fat, I hated people calling me fat. You don't call a crack
uh-huh.
addict a crack addict or an alcoholic an alcoholic. When people called me fat, I punched them in the face. I wouldn't even think about it. Oh, you're
Yeah.
fat? Boom, punch in the face. That's why I got suspended like 30 times in school. People would just call me fat, punch them in the face. Pretty reasonable. I'm not like a sociopath. Every action has a reaction, but that was my trigger.
Mm.
Anyways, so I got super puffy or super fat. My dad one day and I were driving, and my dad wanted to like basically be like, I can't believe like you're so fat, basically. But like he knew if he said that, I would have jumped out the car and like fucking died on the highway. That would have really hurt me. So he's like, why do you got to be so
Mm.
puffy? And I was like, ah, I like that name. Then I was like, okay, I'm gonna open up Puffy's Bakery because I went to culinary school and I was gonna open up like puff pastry, puffy pies, whatever the fuck. And so blah 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 blah. Then my nickname was Puffy, and I also hate my. I don't hate my name. I just don't like Adam because like Adam is very. It's like such a common fucking name. It's so
Mm.
annoying. There's so many people with the name Adam in North America.
Mm.
And so when I lost 100 pounds, my favorite birthday gift I've ever received was from my coach Nitish because I don't necessarily care about monetary value. I care more about emotion and like thought put into it. So Nitish got me a shirt. It was like a really nice Under Armour shirt. I still have it. It doesn't fit me anymore because it's too big. But
Mm.
it was a nice Under Armour shirt, and then you flip it around, and it said "Puffy got Buffy" on it, and that was after I lost 100 pounds. And I will always remember that. And I remember more than anything in that photo, his motherfucking beautiful smile, grinning from ear to ear when I took that photo, because it meant so much to him and it meant so much to me.
Yeah.
And then after that, he gave me that. So, and then I changed at the time. I had my Instagram with a couple hundred people on it. It was like whatever. It was my name, Adam12374. It was just like converted from Facebook type of shit. And then I changed the username to Puffy Got Buffy, and everybody that sees it or saw it was like, "Yo, that's sick." And then I got my logo done, which is behind me. It's basically it's a play. It's my face and my body combined with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. And yeah,
Okay, man. Well, where can people find you?
Puffy Got Buffy on literally every social media channel. I also have a website. I also have the podcast, Start Yesterday podcast. Yeah, YouTube's the best place to find me because I give a lot of free value out in the world that's not a load of shit. I'm not spewing shit on my ass. I actually know what I'm talking about. I've helped over 100 people lose 50 pounds, and I can prove it. And then I have my website if you want to check out like my testimonials and shit. Yeah, that'll about do it.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.